Welcome to Fusion Groups. Hey everyone, we have some announcements for you guys. First, again, is camp. It's coming up July 22nd through 27th, and we still have signups going on our website, mvbcstudents.org, as you can see right here, right there. That's where the website is, mvbcstudents.org. Go there, sign up for camp. Still plenty of spots, but remember, spots are limited, so you need to hurry for that. The next announcement.
If you are in one of the student worship bands or would like to be, on March 10th, right after student service, we're going to have a quick 5 to 10 minute meeting just to clear up some stuff and to talk about some future events.
Yep. And the last thing, Easter is coming up. It's March 31st. It's really early this year. There will be no youth services, but there's a lot of opportunity for you guys to help with Easter. Some of you may have seen this on Sunday. It's a brochure. It's called What If. What If is going to be the sermon title that Bob is going to be preaching on. But what if Easter was irresistible for our guests? And there are plenty of opportunities to help in children's classrooms, children's activities outside. They'll be doing egg hunt, egg roll. I don't know. Gina's got all sorts of things going on. But there are plenty of opportunities to help, even set up and tear down and things like that. If you guys are interested in that, on Sunday, feel free to grab one of these brochures and sign up on here, or you can do it online. There's a website or web page already made. It's moonvalleybible.org/whatif, and that website is right here as well. So moonvalleybible.org/whatif. We'd love for pretty much the whole youth group to be involved in some way in helping out with that. So those are you guys' announcements. We've talked about putting ourselves in a position to be changed, and last week we talked about colliding with others. This week we're going to see what colliding looks like in our faith, or to put it another way, what happens when we collide with God.
When it comes to colliding with God, He will win every time. But we are going to start looking at what colliding with God really means and what that even looks like.
You've all probably heard of the term status quo. It's Latin for the way things are. It's the norm. Essentially, our lives don't look all that different from one another, especially the first 18 years or so. I mean, we all tracked along the same kind of path starting from birth. We went to preschool, we started kindergarten, we played Little League, Pee-wee soccer, learned to play the recorder, and dreaded dodgeball and PE. This is normal. This is where our lives have tended to take us. This is, for most of us, for a lot of us, the status quo.
There are things you do when you call yourself a Christian that are just normal. The status quo of Christianity isn't necessarily the most satisfying, faith-building place to be. What if colliding in our faith means more than doing the right things and believing the right things? What if it has a lot more to do with the God who is calling us to collide in the first place?
The Pharisees set the precedent for the status quo. Jesus didn't speak kindly about the super-religious group. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You are like whitewashed tombs, which look beautiful on the outside, but on the inside are full of dead men's bones and everything unclean. In the same way, on the outside you appear to people as righteous, but on the inside you are full of hypocrisy and wickedness. You snakes, you brood of vipers! How will you escape being condemned to hell?
Why was Jesus frustrated with this group when it seemed like they did everything right and believed all the right things? Let's look at Matthew, where Jesus called the first disciples. Look at what happens. As Jesus was walking beside the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon called Peter and his brother Andrew. They were casting a net into the lake, for they were fishermen. Come follow me, Jesus said, and I will make you fishers of men. At once they left their nets and followed him. Going on from there he saw two other brothers, James son of Zebedee and his brother John. They were in a boat with their father Zebedee, preparing their nets. Jesus called them, and immediately they left the boat and their father and followed him.
So what makes this passage so interesting? These men dropped everything and did exactly what they needed to do to join the ranks with the Son of God. And this is where the Pharisees got it wrong. The Pharisees talked a good talk and followed all sorts of rules, but when it came down to it, they weren't really colliding with God. They weren't doing anything that required radical action from their tightly held beliefs.
The disciples, on the other hand, were doing exactly that. They left it all in order to collide with Jesus. They abandoned it all for the sake of faith. The Pharisees were living the life of the status quo, a life that was expected, tame, and just pretty average, even if it appeared right and by the book. But the disciples weren't satisfied with that. They wanted something more than just a life spent doing the same old thing. They wanted a life walking with Jesus, and doing that is anything but normal, anything but routine, anything but predictable. It is a life spent colliding.
Collision is questioning the way things are, the status quo. Collision is proactive and not reactive. Collision is placing hope in the bigness of God, in his ability to show up and do something in a way you couldn't do on your own. Ultimately, colliding, at its core, is an act of trust.
You can spend your whole life believing in God, but not believing God for who he says he is. Let me do that again. You can spend your whole life believing in God, but not believing God for who he says he is. You can spend your whole life believing in God, but not following him. Going to church doesn't make you a Christian. Going to a Christian concert, on a mission trip, or volunteering in the nursery doesn't make you a Christian. These are great things, but these things don't make you a follower of Jesus.
Living life without colliding is easy. It's safe. It's predictable. It's popular. It is the status quo. Living a life where we collide with God means putting more hope and confidence in him than anything or anyone else, including ourselves.
Where does a collision need to happen? Where do we need to intersect with God so that he can do something big, bigger than what we can do on our own?
What can God do in you? Where can you invite God to do something that only he can? What is keeping you from inviting God into your life now? What's preventing you from wanting him to interrupt your life? Not all of us are colliding with God, but all of us could be. And now is as good a time as any to get started. I want you guys to have a good week.